Well, they found a lot of things that are odd, let's say, like strange. That, for example, I'm definitely not a professor in this, so I don't know a lot of the clinical words they
Sure.
use. But I know that the forearm bone, or whatever this bone is called, that usually has two bones for humans, and basically any bony species on the planet, they don't. For their whatever this bone is, and the leg bone, it's just one solid bone, which is not seen in anywhere in our evolutionary tract that we have fossils for. So that's something very odd. Another thing is that they've recently found is the spacing in the toes is the proper spacing to distribute the weight. Which, if you're gonna say somebody faking these things, that's a lot of detail you pay attention to.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounce's books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All Things Unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
Hello, all you unexplained ones out there. Thank you for joining us. We do ask that as you join us on our show, you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We need your help. We want you to like, follow, share, anything that you can do to support our show means the world to us, and we thank you for that. Those of you that are joining us live, we love your comments. We love your questions. We do ask that you type your questions in all caps so we know that they are indeed a question, and we will try to get to those as we can. We have a very exciting show for you tonight. We would not be a podcast about the unexplained if we did not cover the alien mummies. And this is something that has been circling for quite some time now. There has been all sorts of conversation about these alien mummies. There's been memes, there's been jokes, there's been news stories, and we on All Things Unexplained have not covered it yet. We've got some people tuning in live already. Hello to Helen, hello to Nathan. Thank you guys for your comments. Keep them coming. We have a few special guests joining us tonight. So first and foremost, I am CJ Derringer. I've got my co-hosts here, Dr. Tim Mounts, as well as Smitty Neves. Hey, fellas.
What's up?
How's it going? Good to be back.
Yes, it is. Good to be back. And we have our guest today. We've got our good friend of the show, Blake Best. He is a composer, an author, a director, a screenwriter, a musician, a very talented man. I think he's also tall, all of the things. Welcome, Blake.
Thank you for having me. That was very nice. Thank you.
And joining us for the first time is our friend King. I'm going to try and get this right. King Wakata. We met him on X in the UFO spaces talking about the alien mummies, and Dr. Mountains thought he would be a great addition to this show and to this conversation. King, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yes.
UFO Twitter. And we forgot to mention, by the way, if you're listening to this later on audio or wherever, Apple, happy Cinco de Mayo, everybody.
Yes. Yesterday was May the 4th. May the 4th be with
Be
you.
with you.
I saw some fun memes yesterday. May the 4th be with you, and people were like, and also with you, which is a very religious thing to say. And then, Cinco de Mayo today, the Kentucky Derby yesterday. I didn't watch it. Who won? Do we know who won?
I think it was a photo finish, but that's all I know.
This is not right, but I want to say cryptid strides, but it might have been something else.
It's Revenge of the Fifth. Was that the name of the horse? This is what we're getting from Nathan from the Quantum Show. Revenge of the Fifth. Is that the name of the horse, or is it because it's the 5th today? I'm not sure. But if somebody's
Revenge of the Fifth. No, May the 4th be with you. Today is not Revenge of the Sith. It's Revenge of the Fifth.
Oh. You know I don't understand these.
She's never seen Star Wars, people. She's never seen Star Wars, but she has seen
I thought that was the name
Spaceballs.
of the horse.
She has seen. And the Sith aren't in Spaceballs. I don't think so.
I need to get with the program. Wow. All right. It's been
The
a long.
winner was Mystic Dan. Mystic Dan.
Mystic Dan. Okay. Good to know. Now we know. All right, Tim, tell us a little bit about how you and King got hooked up on this particular topic and how this show came to be today.
Well, so I've been sneaking into Twitter Spaces for quite a while now. And if folks haven't checked out Twitter Spaces, you can basically follow a particular topic. And I jump into UFO Twitter Spaces quite often. And King, he hosts some of these spaces, and I think they're terrific. He hosts great intellectual, academic style debates in his spaces, very respectful, very polite. And it's just a great place for experiencers and those looking for more information to go and find out more on a particular topic. And so I've learned that he is very passionate about the alien mummies. And I said, man, you know what? We've got to do the alien mummies, and King knows a lot more than we'll ever know, probably. So here we are.
Yes. Okay, well, perfect. We're going to have King tell us a little bit then about the alien mummies, because I'm ashamed to admit I know so much about ufology now and lots of different people who are involved in it and different stories. The alien mummies, all that I really know about them is that last October, Tim wanted us to go on a news show and bring a cake that looked like an alien mummy and cut into it. Like that's my knowledge of the alien mummies. So King, tell us a little bit about how this whole concept of alien mummies came to be and what it's like in the news today.
Actually, the alien cake meme was probably my favorite one they've ever done. It was whoever did it, chef's kiss. Like, it was a beautiful thing. But no, it's the science that they're doing behind it. It's just like, and it challenges even skeptics. It challenges them, because it's like you have to, if you want to debunk these things, you have to show how they're taking these bones that are supposed to be already 1,000 years old and stripping them of skin, muscle tissue, all that, taking it apart, rearranging them, putting them back together in a way that it sticks and is able to fool tenured professors from all around the world. Actually, there's over 50 different professors and scientists that have looked at these things.
And so wasn't it a congressman that wanted to submit the alien mummy bones for official record somewhere? Is that how this all was brought back into the public's attention, into the public eye?
Well, Jaime Maussan, he did like a hearing in the Mexican version of like the
Arrow, right? Yeah.
Well, it was more like a Congress, like their version of Congress. And he went up there and he did the presentation, and that's when he brought out the mummies, and he brought out a lot of the data that was done over those 7 years since they were found, 6-7 years. And he was able to show a lot of solid science that, unless you're there to, double test it and do your own version of that, it's solid. It looks good. It looks solid. And they have to do more testing. And right now, the Ministry of Culture, people who are, like Harvard can't come look at them if the Ministry of Culture says no. Like, if they go do it, it's illegal. And the situation is that they have given the bodies to the Inkari Institute, and the Ministry of Culture can't take them from the Inkari Institute until their investigation is done. So that's the loophole that they're using right now. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So did somebody, when you say that he brought them to the Mexican version of Congress, did he physically have the bones, or he was just suggesting that they be entered into the study?
Well, he brought these that you're showing up here now, the two of them. If that's what you're talking about, Musan, he brought these two to the con.
He physically brought them. Okay.
Yeah, he brought them in some box things that were to keep them in good condition, but he brought them and he presented them, and he wanted to do a study. The Ministry of Culture sued, saying that those were artifacts from Peru, which they are. Mexico was like, all right, no, send them back. We can't touch them. It's illegal to touch them, from what I understand. I might be wrong.
What was the initial feedback from everybody after this hearing?
Oh, I'm telling you, the cake meme. That's it was everywhere. Even people that don't pay attention to UFO stuff, it was everywhere. Even my mom posted the cake thing.
Oh my gosh.
So it was everywhere.
And I have to tell you, King, okay, CJ and I did talk about making a alien cake, but we did ultimately veto it. Okay, first of all, I didn't think we had the skills to do it or the funds to hire anybody to do it. And second of all, we're like, you know what? We actually don't want to come off like that. We don't really want to come off as making fun of the topic or as a farce, so we went a different direction. But yeah, I think the cake meme was actually a little bit too bad because, for better or worse, it kind of placed this bias on people.
Yeah, it knocked the winds right out the sails.
Yes. So since then, what's the thought on it now? I mean, here we are 6-7 months later. We're all still talking about these alien mummies. What are the experts saying?
Well, they found a lot of things that are odd, let's say, like strange. That, for example, I'm definitely not a professor in this, so I don't know a lot of the clinical words they use.
Sure.
But I know that the forearm bone, or whatever this bone is called, that usually has two bones for humans, and basically any bony species on the planet, they don't. For their whatever this bone is and the leg bone, it's just one solid bone, which is not seen in anywhere in our evolutionary tract that we have fossils for. So that's something very odd. Another thing is that they've recently found is the spacing in the toes is the proper spacing to distribute the weight, which, if you're going to say somebody faking these things, that's a lot of detail you pay attention to. Another thing, Achilles tendon. Our Achilles tendon connects to our heel, and their Achilles tendon is it kind of goes under inside their heel and connects somehow to one of their main toe bones or something like that. Is very different. And these are things that you look at. Somebody was faking it. The level of knowledge of anatomy you would have to have, it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah. So, Tim, can we go back to slides that you had up? We've got this one here. So can anybody explain to me what we're seeing in these pictures?
I'm not sure which one did. I don't think this might even be one of the real ones. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. And this one here, this looks like the feet.
Those are actually one of the alleged giant hands.
Hands?
Those are hands allegedly belonging to some type of giant. They are talking about having one of the heads that's a giant head also, and supposed to be bringing that forward too. And side note about these hands, these things that they have implanted in them, they have something implanted in them, and it has osmium in it. And osmium is very hard to find. And from how old these mummies are, they are way... we didn't discover osmium yet, put it like that.
Okay.
Right now, King, they do have 3 fingers, though, isn't that right? I think they have 3.
No, I'm not particularly familiar with this exact mummy. It could be one of the real ones. They have 9 different ones, so I haven't really been.
Oh, I see.
Oh, interesting. Okay, now who's the guy? And go back one again, Tim, for those that are listening and not watching. We're looking at what seems to be images. Enlarged images of these hands. And who is the gentleman in the white coat? Does anybody know who that is?
No.
somebody obviously
No,
just presenting?
I think he would. Now this, I'm going to advance it to this slide
Okay.
here. I think this is from perhaps the presentation at the Mexican conference where Ryan Graves was. Is that right? Probably right, King?
So that could be maybe Dr. Zuniga, I think is pronounced. He's one of the doctors that have been intimately involved with this. So off the face, I don't really, I'm horrible with names that way. But yeah, a lot of these doctors are, tenured doctors that have been doing this for 20 plus years. And dealing with something like this is basically throwing your career away if it comes out like it's a fraud. Like, you'll never be respected in these type of academic circles.
One thing I think people don't realize is how small they are, because when you just look at the picture, I think a lot of people in their mind see a human-sized being, but they're actually quite small. And here we see in this picture, what do you think, like 2.5 foot long, maybe?
Yeah, I think the tallest one might be close to 3 feet, if that.
Yeah, I mean, from this picture, what we're looking at looks like a large cat to me, and size-wise, a humanoid figure.
Well, but I think what you're looking at in the picture, within the picture here, that might be the contents of the eggs.
Oh, that's right, because they found some eggs, right?
Yeah, I believe.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Have they done any DNA testing on any of this material?
Yes, they have done several DNA tests, but one of the problems was that, let's say the library that they have isn't wide enough; it's too narrow. They need something with a bigger thing to, I guess, go against to see what it might be.
Nothing to compare it to.
Right, sort of that. So they need something with a bigger library. They are able to say that everything in it is organic, which is actually very big. Because they even checked the eggs, and they said it was like calcium and things like that you would find inside of an egg that's turning into whatever it's turning into. And they do have these, they calling them the hybrids, that they're like 5'4" or something like that. They're like human sized, with Maria, which is one of the more famous ones.
Well, do they think the smaller ones are children? Or they just think they might be different species?
Yes, that's what they're saying. There's different species.
And we actually have some really great comments right now. Listener Nathan from the Quantum Show, he says, the mummies seem real to me. Peru is making a lot of noise to get them back. Would they do that if they were fake? I think that's a great point, King. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think this has a lot to do with like internal politics, egos, things of that nature. Because, if it was just up to the scientists, I think they would all come together and work together. I think it's a lot to do with Mario, that's known for, being a grave robber. He's a tomb raider, and they don't like him. They know him. They know his name. So they already didn't like him from the beginning, and I'm sure he didn't make new fans with this,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And 1 second, I'll be right back.
Okay.
My charger.
He brought up the word Mario. I think he's talking about Jaime Maussan.
I don't know who that is, so fill me in.
So Jaime Maussan, he's the Mexican ufologist that presented these mummies to the public, right?
And were all of these mummies found in Peru?
I think that they are all purported to come from Peru. Now, I think where people get confused is that this latest set were revealed to the public at a Mexican UFO conference. And that's where the waters got muddied a little, because there were some people who were caught off guard by the presentation of these alien mummies, people like Ryan Graves. And thanks, Nathan. Yes, Jaime is the head ufologist in Mexico. But Ryan Graves, of course, he's one of our fighter pilots that had the authenticated military UAP encounters. Welcome back, King. And so that muddied the waters a little bit at this Mexican conference, right? When you had people there like Ryan Graves, and they were taken aback, I guess you say, or said that they were caught by surprise. And I know King knows a little bit more on that. But King, I wanted to get you to address this question. I think it's not really a question, but a comment from Helen of Crystals, who says, I think they're genuine old mummies. I don't know if they're aliens, but she followed that up with this. I wonder if they are from an ancient civilization experimenting with hybrids.
It's a scary thing, but at this point, it's possible. Like, we have to sit down and play with ideas of things that explain it. The most logical would be just saying these are cryptoterrestrials, a species that might have evolved alongside with us. But from there, we got to see what evidence we can find, and then we can move over and play with different ideas. But they are already throwing that idea that it might have been experiments that were being done by someone else. It's not hard to take these leaps once you start looking at everything, and you start seeing the patterns. And I heard you asking about Mario. Mario is the gentleman that found the mummies. Musan
Oh, okay.
Musan came into this because Tahir Jamin, he's an archaeologist. He's a French archaeologist, and he's the one that actually, they came to him with the mummies first, Mario. And Tahir and Jamin went to the Ministry of Culture before anybody else. And when he went to them, they turned him away. They didn't even want to see him. Once they knew Mario was involved in all that, they just wanted nothing to do with it. So that's when he decided to reach out to the media, and he reached out to several people, and Musan was the one that went down there.
Why do you think it's so hard for people to accept that these might be real?
It could be a multitude of things. Number one, actually in the space yesterday, somebody said, for me, it's just, they seem too incredible to be true. And whatever he needs for it to be, quote unquote evidence, it still hasn't passed that threshold. He himself said, I don't know what that evidence is, but that threshold hasn't been crossed. And I can accept that. I can say, you know what, the science is being done, more stuff will come out, and maybe at some point people will reach that threshold.
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like we believe so easily in other things, right? For the most part, everybody grows up believing what they're told without much question. It's not really until later in life that any of us start to question anything. But for some reason, this particular topic, everybody comes from the exact opposite end and just instantly disbelieves. And I know that that's been something that's been building over time. So when you say I have alien mummies, that's hard for some people to think about. Even when I heard this topic, again, I first heard it from Tim in the form of like, let's make an alien mummy cake and go on this news show. And so it was all sort of sensationalized to me from the very beginning, that when people started asking me that maybe aren't in this sphere with us, like, oh, did you hear about those alien mummies? I didn't really know how to respond. Like, were they going to think I was crazy if I did believe or thought more into it? I'm not sure. But this topic, the alien mummies, seems to be even more taboo than just aliens.
They tend to want to look around first and see how's everybody reacting before I get into this and all that. And yeah, it's easy to run with the headlines, but I think the headlines are going to start turning. Musan just said that I believe Ross Cohart in News Nation might be about to have interview or a special with Dr. John McDowell, who has taken the position of head research leader, or whatever you want to call it, for the investigation into the mummies. Dr. McDowell is very well accredited. He got some award for it. Like, he got a record amount of peer-reviewed studies when it comes to like medicine and anatomy and that type of stuff. So the dude, like, is A1. His credentials are like beyond reproach. And he's going to be taking the lead on this. And yeah, let him go. Let him just do his thing.
Yeah, that sounds like it would certainly bring credibility to this topic. We have some people that are adding to our chat here, really thought-provoking comments and questions, and we do appreciate you guys joining in with us. In this particular topic, most of you that are tuning in right now probably know more than me. So send us your information. I learn from you every single day. So thank you for those comments, Joe. I've been reading some of yours as Tim's been sticking them on the screen, and some definitely thought-provoking ideas in there. Tim, what has been your take? I've never even asked you about the alien mummies, to be honest. And here it's a topic that anybody that has a show about unexplained things have covered. And it's new territory for me. So tell me what has kept you so interested in them.
Well, to be honest, it just hasn't went away, right? I mean, it's a hot topic. I admit I was a little bit trepidatious of it, but I trepidatious from, I think, the same skeptical, analytical point of view that we tend to take most of this stuff at, right? Not doubtful, but, and of course, when we do a show on some of these topics, we want to be open-minded. We want to present the story to people and let people make of it, what they will. Let them decide for themselves, right? I think part of it for me, it's just such a wild story because it could be a movie. I mean, you have so many moving parts, so many characters. You've got this character, Jaime Maussan, involved. I mean, he's got a little bit of Barnum brothers in him, right? A little bit of Ringling, is that his name? Who's the greatest showman?
Oh, P.T. Barnum.
P.T. Barnum. He's got a little P.T. Barnum in him, right? I'm not even saying that's a bad thing, right? Because honestly, a lot of our biggest celebrities in ufology right now do have some P.T. Barnum, whether we're talking about Jeremy Corbell or George Knapp. I mean, some of our most respected ones, Avi Loeb, Gary Nolan, Kevin Knuth. He's on documentaries now. Diana Pasulka. It just is about to make a television show about her books, American Cosmic. And by the way, this show's going to be fictionalized. We're told that the books are nonfiction, right? And we're supposed to believe them. To me, it's fascinating. It's more of a real life drama with more twists and turns than you could write. You couldn't write a story this crazy and this fantastical. I did want to ask King something, and King, thanks so much for being here. We are so honored to have King Wakata here with us and Blake Best. King, we recently had Kevin Knuth on, physicist. Kevin Knuth, he spoke at the Soul Foundation, and he told me, it's not so easy to determine if anything is extraterrestrial because everything in the whole universe is made up of the same elements, and not only that, but the same isotopes. So if we literally had an alien mummy or an alien craft, we still might not be able to figure out for 100% certainty if it is alien. King, how do you think? I think this actually lends some support for the alien mummies. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, technically, let's say, these things have a bone density that's very close to a velociraptor. As hilarious as it sounds, look it up. I'm not lying. Like avian or a velociraptor is the example that was given. But what if these things do come from a lineage of dinosaur that survived and evolved into something else? And look how quickly we evolved just in the last 100 years. Now imagine a thing has, 3 million years before we even pop up. What can they get done? And then what if they left and came back and now we're here and they're like, oh, what the hell is this? Who came in our house? Who's the ET here? So yeah, it's a very hard thing to tell, and the alien thing is just a good way to get eyeballs on it. Whether you think they're crypto-terrestrial or aliens, I just want to get the science done because I think we're going to learn a whole lot about our history, let alone how the universe might work from these things.
Certainly.
I agree.
The learning is what it's all about. We got to keep an open mind and evolve every single day. And that's what we love about this show, right? Is having these conversations and thinking outside of ourselves and thinking about the universe. And for those that are joining us live, thank you so much. Please do subscribe and like and share and follow so that we can continue having these conversations and keeping our minds moving into the next phase so we can figure it out. Sorry, Tim, I cut you off.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say that something I've been thinking a lot about lately is something else Kevin Knuth told us, and he told us that, where do the people, the beings that control UFOs, UAPs, where are they? Are they coming from another part of the universe? Are they coming from outer space? He said, actually, the evidence suggests they're already here. They're just here somewhere. Maybe it's underwater. Maybe it's underground. Maybe I don't want to give a teaser for something I'm going to ask later, but maybe they're cloaked when they're not underwater or underground. But I've been thinking about that a lot lately, King, and what the ramifications for that are. Maybe they're just here already, and I think that lends some validity to the possibility of some discoveries like the alien mummy. So if I had to ask you what your guess for the origins of these things are, what would your guess be?
I mean, I think right now is a great time to start looking back on, native tales and old stories, because there seems to be some type of origin to all these myths and all these fairy tales. It seems like there were actually something to it. So we've always heard of the Hopi and the native tribes from South America have stories of ant people that live underground, that when you look at their depictions look very similar to these things. Japan has statues to these things that they have that live underground, and they look very close to these things. We got Atlantis, a civilization so advanced they decided to go in the ocean, or they got swallowed up by the ocean. Maybe there is something to these things, and over the long telephone game that is history and humanity, things get changed, but the core story that there's somebody in the ocean stays there. Somebody's underground. That core story is still there. So we need to start looking back on these things and reanalyze it.
Mounts, when you said that about the living among us, that always makes me think of of course it's fictionalized, but do you remember the TV show V? That everybody, they were appearing as human beings, but they were actually aliens. I always was obsessed with that show when I was younger.
Oh, yeah, and let's not forget one of our favorite movies here at All Things Unexplained. And something one of our listeners said a while ago made me think of this movie. I'm having a hard time finding it, but of course we have a quote from that movie right here.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick and I'm all out of bubblegum.
All out of bubblegum, folks. And that's from Rowdy Roddy Piper. And they live, of course, in a very dystopian setting in society, right? Where all of a sudden he puts on the shades one day and boom, he's surrounded by aliens. And King, I kind of feel like we're heading toward that road. I don't know when it's going to happen, but what do you think? I feel like something big is set up to happen.
To be continued.
I am here to discuss the so-called flying saucers.
We know now that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's.
Did the CIA write Wind of Change by the Scorpions?
As humans busied themselves about the various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied.
Dr. Loeb, what percentage chance do you give it that you have indeed uncovered extraterrestrial or non-human technology?
With infinite complacence, people went about their affairs, yet across an immense ethereal gulf, intellects vast and unsympathetic drew their plans against us.
All of a sudden, a stick out of nowhere landed right in front of us, and there was no tree, nothing overhead. Something threw it at us.
Yeah.
All things unexplained.
So some of that, I think, sir, we'll save for closed session.
All Things Unexplained is free to watch on YouTube and listen to wherever you get your podcasts. If you would like to support our show, you can visit our YouTube store. Additionally, you can find us on Venmo under All Things Unexplained. Be sure to check out our website, allthingsunexplained.com. All proceeds from the sales of Dr. Mounts' books on Amazon and Audible also go straight to our show.